you can burn down even a Muradin or a Johanna very easily. So they will need to really watch their positioning and realize that just because they have two tanky warriors doesn't mean that they're just home free and can do whatever.
Yeah, and you look at the sustain possibilities there with Afro. You normally,
Yeah.
I actually saw Brightwing in one of the games earlier during Enter the Storm. Brightwing was a solo pick a couple times, but pairing it with another healer, like somebody like Tyrande who can kind of go half heals there and go spec and do a little bit of damage. I like this pickup here. It looks like both teams are going to be ready here in just a second. So we're going to bring this in here. Psycom Esports facing off against Afro Doge. If you guys aren't familiar with Afro Doge, it's because I believe they're pretty new. But the names and faces you guys will definitely recognize once we get into the game. A few pieces put together from a few teams that have gone a few different ways. Tiger AFK. Not Tiger JK.
I'm really happy that although Tiger JK seems to have changed teams, he is still known throughout the land of esports, or Heroes Esports, as Tiger AFK. Known for his frequent smoke breaks. I think it's smoke breaks, or at least breaks in general after draft.
We're going to get him in just a minute. But guys, this is the first game of the night today. While we have a minute, Gillyweed, there was a big announcement today about some people that are going to be in Los Angeles next week for the qualifier. You want to fill us in on that?
I like that toss. That was great. Thank you for that. Yeah. The announcement came in about the talent who will be at the North American Regionals in Los Angeles next weekend. And I will be there. I'm so excited that I get to cast it. All of these teams, I've been following a lot of them for a long time and getting to know a lot of them, hanging out with them at Heroes Rising like you got to. And it's just really cool to see their growth. So I'm very excited and honored that I get to be there. I'm also going to be joined by Zoya and Jake and then Dreadnought. So it's going to be a great casting team. And then my good friend and podcast co-host, Anna Prosser-Robinson, will be hosting. So it's going to be a great time. I'm really looking forward to the event.
An all-star team, to say the least. Really
Thank
looking
you.
forward to it. And very, very much well-deserved. I think I said it before, is that you could kind of know who is going. The one guy that I really like is Dreadnought. I love what he's done so far, and I'm really excited about what he's going to be doing going forward because his analysis is amazing.
Yeah, it's so great to have someone who is, used to be a pro player, used to lead a team, and have him now be able to give and share that insight and analysis in that different way of approaching and looking at the game with people who are watching. And the rest of us, his co-casters as well.
All right, well, we are loaded into the game. And we are going to have Afro Doge here on the left side. Gilly, that's going to be Crone there on Li Ming, Tiger JK on Tyrande, Daihu on ETC, Hao Nguyen on Thrall, and it's going to be Protege?
Proteges, yeah.
Okay.
So it's not going to be June. It will be Proteges here playing with them, but yet another name, very well known. Throw Academy. I know, I see it, I love it. Several members of Throw Academy who played in the amateur scene a lot in the qualifiers last year are on this team in red. It's Psycom Esports, and we have Fate playing Muradin. Is that like Canadian Playa? Playing Johanna, Kingfisher on Sylvanas, Luda playing Jaina, and Rebel playing Rhaegar.
Yeah, we do see quite the priority as we are seeing the stun go down. Muradin not able to dwarf toss out of there, but Hao Nguyen being turned on. Both teams prioritizing this vision, but they are doing quite a bit of damage here, Jimmy.
Oh, is it going to come in? Is there like a condemn? Tiger JK does throw out a stun, but pays for it as yet another takedown for takedown. But Jaina is going to go down too, and now Kingfisher and Wet Rebel have way overextended into the blue side. They are going to be able to use Haunting Wave. Not sure they'll be able to get away, though. Daihu is on the chase, but they're finally going to let this go. Get back into the lanes. Know that they don't want to give up too much more lane soak and getting experience for the first temple phase.
A 3-for-2 trade. Daihu not able to lay on that power slide there, so it looks like we're going to go ahead and break off to the laning phase. Thrall's going to be down in that bottom lane, and we are going to see Sylvanas go down there and join him, so that's going to be pretty much a moot point down there. Sylvanas may or may not be able to get the best of that Thrall. Very good at laning, but we are going to see a potential rotation as we take a look at some of these level 1 talents with these temples coming out. We didn't even have a chance to talk about the the talents here, because they were so busy fighting right off the bat.
I know, they just went for it.
Definitely so, but we are going to have the temples here. This is where, as we have another fight here, middle. Again, Daihu able to power slide out of there. He's going to be just fine. The temples are going to be in the middle and top, and will we see Thrall and Sylvanas stay in that bottom lane and contest and continue the soak, as we do have a slight lead here for Afro.
I mean, Hao has to stay down there as long as Sylvanas is there, because that's just free push and damage on your structures, and that's not something you should be willing to give up on Sky Temple, because your structures are your team health, and the objective directly attacks them. So for now, we're going to see the teams that split the temples. Mid is going to be held by Aphrodite, top will be held by Psycom, and then those good solo laners in Sylvanas and Thrall will just stay down on the bottom, and that will keep Thrall as a much better 1v1 hero, so that is going to be able to keep Sylvanas back. Oh, but Jaina is going to go down in the mid.
They were trying to make the push there on Crone, and we had Brightwing come in, and will Canadian, man, I want to get clarification on that name.
I know.
Johanna's going to be able to get out of there just fine, but we are going to see a pretty much even trade. I believe all shots are pretty much going to both teams. They were able to split it up, and it looks like in-game is a little loud. Let me adjust this real quick, Gilly.
All right, no problem. I can talk about some of the talents that we have thus far as not really having too much of a fight. For our Li Ming, we have Power Hungry, so that is, it used to just be Astral Presence if you were going for the Mana Regen talent, but now we're seeing maybe a shift over to this with the nerf to Power or to Astral Presence. So now with Power Hungry, picking up the Regeneration Globes not only restores a lot of more mana, 100% more mana, but also gives more ability power. So it's possible that if you're fighting around one of those and can pick it up, then instantly you can go in and start putting in a lot of pressure onto your opponent's team.
And now we have both teams pretty much rotating down here to the bottom. We see Kingfisher using that Haunting Wave to get out of there just in time. The stun does come down. The Arcane Orb does a ton of damage there from Crone. Li Ming poking in that back lane. And you can see now we have a 4-on-4 down here. Both teams retreating. Not as eager to fight as much as they were within the first 15 seconds of the game here.
Yeah, but I do like that we have Aphrodite moving in, looking to see if they can get a potential gank around these giants. They know that there's a lot of people off, and they're potentially going to be going for that, and they have the level 7. So Lunar Flare goes down, and Sylvanas gets eliminated from the fight so fast. The orb really pressuring Jaina. She has to get out of there, and that means Canadian player will very likely go down. Arcane Flare does not quite secure the takedown, but Magic Missiles will do the trick, and that is a 2-for-0. In addition, Aphrodite are going to be able to steal the giants from the side of the red team.
This is a very important part for you folks that are wondering about Li Ming. Obviously, with that S of Johan being taken out at level 4, the skill shots are going to be much more rewarding, and we saw the Sylvanas get blown up there, and that's what I love about these changes. It's really going to reward a lot of these people. Again, on another podcast, you guys had the basically the creator of Li Ming, the developer there.
Yeah.
And he basically talked about how, and I remember several posts coming out saying, hey, we want to reward high-level gameplay. And I think that level 4 talent being taken out definitely helps that a little bit more than it did just during her release.
Oh yeah, and especially because it would group them together so that you could hit and make sure that Seeker hit, which is still our level 7 pickup. So it will be way more skill-based. We'll also have Charged Blast, so that's going to just be a full-on Magic Missile build. Likely we could have Mirror Ball at level 16 too, but we'll wait and see how that goes. Brightwing is going to be able to teleport away. Looks like maybe she was going to get caught up top, but in the bottom now, we have Aphrodite, who is going to be able to just pick up, looks like most of this temple. Psycom are going to instead just push in with that Sylvanas, at least get another fort too, and so they'll trade out fort for fort here.
It's the best part about Sylvanas, the one hero that can completely lock down structures. They were pushing with that camp that they timed very well, but we do see the experience going very much in favor of Aphrodite. They're almost level 10, Gilly, with a full level lead already, and we do see Li Ming clearing out that top lane, but where will we see the next engagement? We do see Hao down here, and the power slide going through on Jaina. Jaina using that Iron Skin, and now they're trying to make a little bit of a return here. We do see Protege coming in, getting that blink in, that phase shift in as the vision comes out. Will we see the damage as level 10 is hit right now?
Oh, level 10 immediately goes into Sundering and a Mosh Pit, and Sylvanas and Johan are going to get taken out. And with that, not going to continue to push in too much. What will they do with this now? They've got some options. Boss could be pretty risky, but it looks like that is going to be the play. Because they know that they have their heroics. Even though they used them, it's still so scary for Psycom to try to group back up and then come into this too. They may try to do it. They have everybody up, and this isn't getting taken down super quickly, but with a Tyrande, they have Hunter's Mark. They're going to start taking it down. There goes the Hunter's Mark too. And yeah, this is just going to have to be given up, so it will have to be defended by Psycom.
They did grab that bottom temple during that last phase and basically took out that bottom fort, which is going to allow this boss to push straight to the gate of that bottom keep. It's probably not going to do much damage. As you can see, they're already engaging, but what that allows is it allows Afro Doge to basically rotate up to this middle fort and take that for free, and they're going to go ahead and rotate up to the top and see if they can't get another one. They have this talent level advantage, and they're using it to their, I guess, in really good favor here, is they're already almost at level 12, and if they can get these down, they're going to be well on their way to 13, and we still have Psycom just about, but not yet at 10.
It's always very refreshing when you are up against the Sylvanas to be the ones pushing down and taking out structures, because you know that if you lose a person, if someone gets picked, then instead of them instantly going and taking out one of your forts, they have to push back the lanes, and that takes time. And so it's just gives you a little bit of buffer time. And now with that 2-level lead, heroics have been picked up, though, for Psycom, and everything looks very standard across the board. It will be Avatar, so no Haymaker shenanigans like we see sometimes in Europe. But I have yet to really see that happen too much over here. Also, Blessed Shield, Water Elemental, Ancestral Healing, and Wailing Arrow.
Rotating over, Psycom looking as the Shadow Stomp does go out. The root is coming out on that back lane. We do see the Sundering coming out once again, and now diving on that back lane, the Ancestral Healing coming in on Sylvana. She's trying to get out of there. They have to be careful as the Condemn comes in. The heals are going out, but the damage is going against Psycom. And there's Canada player. Will he survive the power slide? Is able to secure the kill on Johanna. Sylvana's going down as well there.
And now Fate's going to try to Dwarf Toss out, but walks right into the Lunar Flare, and will get lost as well. With 2 temples up now, Brightwing's going to start moving in toward the bottom. They have picked up level 13 in that fight too, so Glass Cannon is going to be the immediate pickup for Li Ming, and I understand why. Her positioning's been really solid. I don't believe any deaths on her side. Yeah, no deaths for Li Ming. The front line's being very good, and everyone else is keeping her very alive. She knows that she has 2 supports to keep her safe. So even though you do lose that 15% maximum health, you're gaining 15% ability power, and that's going to start to get pretty scary for Psycom.
Afro Doge has to be feeling pretty good about their position right now because they're being very aggressive and now moving in on this siege camp. They started it and they're kind of poking, looking for it. They are very experienced players knowing that the potential gank is coming. They see it, the Shadow Stomp going out once again. And we do see an engagement here on this back line. Hound Wind making a priority. Kingfisher able to dive out of there. We do have Brightwing phasing in, but on this front line here, basically way out of position. That Jaina gets absolutely obliterated. Are we going to see any more takedowns here? As there goes Sylvanas down, and now Psycom is in all kinds of trouble here, Gilly.
Psycom really wanted to be able to get Crow in, and that would have been huge for them for the comeback experience, but Daihu did a really great job of coming in and just power sliding in and making sure she stayed safe. Brightwing immediately phase shifted in. Speaking of Brightwing's going to get taken out. That's a nice little win for Psycom, but she came in and phase shifted and then gave a big shield to Crowan, and then even the Sundering helped make sure that they were able to take out a person who was right in front of Li Ming. I think it was that Jaina. So good job recovering, even though at the start of that fight, Aphrodite maybe was a little bit overextended. Their ETC was almost at the top lane. Brightwing was at the bottom, although she can always phase shift in and did do that. So good job, good recovery from them.
Capitalizing on that win. Yes, Brightwing went down, but they still had 4 players up, and they're now grabbing both of these siege camps at the bottom, which is going to continue to make Psycom defend. They are already almost level 16, with Psycom just now about to hit 13, so they're holding on to that talent advantage and continuing to make the best out of it. You see the camp being grabbed there at the top by Psycom while the rest of the team has to defend. But we're going to be due for another temple phase soon, and if 16 is hit before 13, it's going to be really tough for Psycom to start making a comeback here. They really have to try and win a fight while they're on even talents, but at the same time, this is going to be very difficult because Aphrodite is looking really good right now.
So I'm pretty interested in the Rhaegar's build thus far because it's Colossal Totem, which makes me think maybe they're going to go Earth Grasp Totem at 16. We'll have to see, and maybe just trying to, I guess if someone gets caught out, slow them so much that they get taken out. But at the same time, they're also going with Spirit Walker's Grace and Tidal Waves, so focusing more on the chain heal, even though a lot of times the big pro build is going to be the Lightning Shield build. Proteges, can he get himself away in time? Shadowstalk comes down, helps him a bit. Does he have another Blink Heal? He needs his minions, though, to be able to get to them. Does have Pixie Dust on himself? Does Blink Heal to his minions. And that was what I was talking about with the mobility of Brightwing, is you can just get yourself out of the craziest of situations and make really big saves. And is this going to be the end of the game?
Brightwing basically saying, come get me, and they were chasing him around, and in the meantime, this is going in, and this is going to be a game. So
okay.
A little bit of cat and mouse up there. Brightwing was more than content, made some excellent plays, but at the same time, hey, why not just go for the win 11 and a half minutes into the game, Gilly?
Without, like, boss or anything, they're just like, hey, bottom lane's pushed, they're top. Let's win the video game.
That's not a bad way to do it. A little bit sneaky. I like that. As we do see, not a ton of damage went out because a lot of these fights were very early on, especially this early into the game. But when you take a look at the damage that was put out for the amount of time in those 11 and a half minutes, that's 14 kills to 3, Gilly. And Afro Doge, I believe this is their debut, everybody, making a very strong name, saying, hey, guys, don't forget about us. We're, kind of from a few different places, but we're not half bad still. So nice showing here in the first game of the night by Afro Doge.
Yeah, somebody buy that shot caller drink. Hey, guys, core? Maybe Brightwing, too. Drinks all around. Anyway, so far, let's see. I'm going to check out the bracket and see if we know. They will be moving on, and they will play the winners of Arcane Esports and Ascension Prime. Arcane Esports were the winners of the Heroes Hype Amateur Series this week, so they're starting to get their name out there. And I'm not sure, do you know who we will be checking? Are we just following Afrodoge all the way?
I believe for now we are probably going to be following Afrodoge. Okay. Arcane Esports is one of those teams that had a team, and then they didn't have a team for several months now. Mm-hmm. And now they're back, and like you said, they won on Wednesday night, and they're going to be going. They've got a tough test if they're going to get back into the scene. This is Afrodoge after that first game. Man, that's going to be tough.
Yes, that was great shot calling. Very aggressive play too. Daihu was constantly just anchoring, sitting in the bushes and watching for people to make rotations in that area around the giants. And that's a lot of times where that happens on Sky Temple, is just that boss area with the two giant camps, because they're so close together. You can really just sit and watch and see if you can catch somebody out. And once they got a good level lead from getting a couple of early kills, then they never allowed that to be let go. Even when they lost that Brightwing, they still gained so much from that fight. And even the boss that pushed down and all the way up to the bottom keep. Just good decision making, and I'm excited to see how far they can make it. It was a great play.
That's definitely, when a team's got experience when they can do that and they force the advantage. So nicely done there, Afrodoge. Gilly, I believe we're going to take a quick break to get an update on the other team, see if we're ready to move into that next game. So we will be right back, guys, for the round number 2 of the Divergent Gaming Open. And again, I am Jay Howe. That is Gillyweed, not Dreadnought and Zoya tonight. So thank you guys for joining us. We'll be right back with a few announcements and give you guys a little update on what Divergent Gaming has going for them and how you can also be involved. So we will be right back. All right, welcome back, everybody. We just saw Afro Doge in game number 1. And again, I am Jay Howe. Tonight joining me is Gillyweed. She needs no introduction. But you guys are here for the Divergent Gaming Open. And a lot going on with this tournament. They've had a lot of really big-name casters in here lately, and you guys have probably been seeing a lot of gameplay. I know for one myself, I try and catch up with as much heroes as I can, and you guys are getting some good stuff tonight. We just saw Afro Doge, kind of a mixture of a few teams that you guys are probably fairly familiar with. Gilly, they looked really good in their, I guess, premiere tonight.
They did, like a 12-minute win or something, and it is really cool to see. So a lot of times with like amateur teams, not that these are necessarily amateurs. We talked about, you know, these players have been playing in different teams for a long time in the hero scene, but general, like with amateur teams, newer ones, there's that concern and sometimes not willing to go for the core when you could have the lethal. So it's cool to see them, like this is the first time we're casting them and seeing them, and they've already got that set up. The shot calling, like they were listening, they were all following, but they were in control of that whole game. So it's a whole different ball game if you are not in control of a game and you have to fight your way back from being behind in talent tiers. So we'll see if Arcane Esports can maybe throw them off a little bit, as they are the opponents in the next round.
Arcane Esports, again, if you guys weren't here just before the break, they were a team that's been around, I guess, several months back, and they've been without a team for a while. Crashy, if he's in here, I know Crashy's in charge of a lot that goes on with Arcane Esports, and you guys are seeing them pretty much make a return. So we will see them in this next game, as we are going to be following Afro Doge. In the meantime, I do want to point out a little bit of attention if you guys want to check out more about the Divergent Gaming Open or just Divergent Gaming as a whole. There's a whole lot of information just below the screen if you're watching it. Divergent Gaming, I know I've seen their name for several months now. The best way to support these tournaments and anything that you possibly can do is to, one, follow the channel. You guys have been getting some pretty stellar gameplay, some pretty stellar casting by likes of Dreadnought and Zoya. We've got Gilly here tonight. I know Jake's done some stuff. So you guys are in for a treat. So if you're not following it, definitely follow this channel. You can follow them on Twitter, Facebook. It looks like they've got some stuff on YouTube. And then also I want to make a point out, and Divergent guys, I want to go ahead and put my name in. If you check out the Divergent Gaming Open shirts, they have a hoodie on there that actually looks really comfortable. I was looking through it earlier. If you guys want to check that out, that link is below, so you guys can check that out. They've got regular shirts, they've got female shirts, they've got long sleeve shirts, and hoodies. What do I got to do to get a hoodie?
I don't know. You could buy one. You could also try that too. I think the goal is to have people buy their things.
Yes, I will wear it. Somebody on this cast though is a brand representative, if I remember correctly.
That's true. That is true.
All right. The draft link, by the way, is 7:45.
Got it.
Okay.
Right.
But you guys, again, a big announcement today. Gilly is going to be there in Los Angeles. She's going to be joined by Solid, Jake, Dreadnought, and Zoya for your cast there. Anna Prosser are going to be the one hosting it. A lot of good stuff going on. If you guys aren't excited about Heroes Esports, then you're in the wrong place. There's a lot going on right now.
Yeah, there is. We talked about Heroes of the Dorm. There's some Heroes of the Dorm teams practicing here tonight in the Open. The registration ended for that yesterday, so they're going to be trying to ramp up as much as possible. Also, there's our regionals, which are next weekend, but the weekend after are the European regionals too. So 2 weekends in a row, we will find out 4 of the teams who will be moving on and making it into the World Championships, which will be in Seoul, South Korea. Pretty exciting stuff.
I, for one, there's been times where I sit here at my desk and I'm thinking, I should get some work done. Oh, never mind. I'm just going to watch Heroes all day.
There's so much to watch, yeah.
I know. I really like the fact that they staggered everything between Saturday and Sunday for the qualifiers between Europe and North America, and then they also staggered them by weekends coming up for the regionals. That makes my life miserable because I can't pull myself away from the computer, but at the same time, you guys are going to get some pretty amazing games over the next few weeks, which I'm really looking forward to.
Yeah, I've really been enjoying watching the European games too, because
right?
They are different. That is true. And there are some even like drafts and builds, like I mentioned before. I've seen some haymakers. I never thought I would see a day, but it's pretty cool to see.
It's always fun. During the qualifiers, I can't remember which night it was, but we did see a team go with Haymaker, and they were winning the game pretty handily.
Yeah.
And I remember it being on Infernal Shrines, and then they Haymaker to Jaina into their back line, and the Jaina turned around and killed somebody, and then the whole fight turned against them, and then they ended up losing. Like, the Haymaker actually did them in. It was pretty amazing. You would think that they would have capitalized on it, but they didn't. But the map bans are out. Gilly, we're going to see Sky Temple. Are we going to see the same prioritization for a Brightwing or a Falstad ban, which, hey, they're already getting Falstad banned out right away.
I wouldn't be surprised if this was Zagara again either. Zagara is so good. She's a great solo laner because of the vision that she can provide with her creep too. You can keep tabs on the boss. You can keep tabs on those rotations that come through to make sure that you're not getting ganked. She can put a lot of pressure into that bottom lane depending on who she's laning up against. And potentially that way secure the bottom floor if you can get the bottom temple. But it actually is going to be a Rhaegar ban and another Insta Li Ming pick here.
Yeah, it's one of those things. In some of the drafts that I'd seen, especially in the Enter the Storm, I actually watched just this afternoon with Jake and Forecourt. Li Ming wasn't necessarily a first pick option every single game. Mm-hmm. And I'm really curious how that's going to be used because she wasn't allowed at the qualifiers and the Invitational the last week there, and now she's going to be playable. And I'm really curious how it's going to change a lot of people's draft, where we see a Rhaegar and a Falstad being prioritized. These teams are drafting fast.
They are.
As we do see Thrall and Zagara picked up there for Arcane Esports, both very strong laning presence. A lot of times you'll see a Thrall counter Zagara very early on to try and neutralize that, but we will see the gank potential there from Thrall depending on who he's paired up with. But on the backside for Afrodoge, Li Ming and Jaina has a lot of damage potential.
It does, but that is very squishy. To have both of those mages. So maybe we'll even have a full-on double warrior lineup in front just to try to keep them safe. And I like that they're at least going to get one of those. Make sure that they have a good tanky frontliner by looking at that ETC. Or not. Or they could switch it up and pick up another squishy backliner in Tyrande. But, with Li Ming, it's really interesting because she came out but was banned from all of the qualifiers. So although she was being played some in Enter the Storm, she was banned from all the qualifiers and then had now changes be implemented in this week's patch. So I kind of get the feeling that teams they're picking her and they're playing her, but like the highest tier teams are like just now starting to maybe figure out, okay, these are when we want to have them and this is when we don't want to have her. And like figuring out the counters just because of the fact that for so long they weren't even practicing with her because there wasn't any point because you needed to focus on practicing with what you could actually pick in the qualifiers.
Do you think there might be some type of, obviously they scrim, but do you think they might say, hey, let Li Ming go through so that we can have practice against her? Like, is there the potential for that? Or do they just scrim so much they're just like, no, we're just going to play our game?
I don't know. I think if there are teams who are very close and practice versus each other a lot, and there might be the potential to say like, hey, would you mind like drafting Li Ming or like just letting her through bans, obviously too, right? It's likely that she gets picked up, and then they could say, okay, let's practice what we think with trying to counter her. But I think probably in general teams do that anyway, just when they're like kind of practicing amongst themselves, trying to figure stuff out too.
Really curious. We saw a Kerazim ban here, ETC being banned out as well, which is pretty much going to leave Arcane Esports with a decision of Johanna, which is probably going to be our next best choice. If you guys are wondering about Stitches, I wondered if that's why the Kerazim ban came in there, Gilly.
Yeah.
Joe Gall making another scene. We've been seeing a lot of or at least I don't want to say a lot compared to what we used to see after this latest patch, but we've been seeing a lot more Joe Gall in the last couple weeks.
I think it's just such a weird hero and playstyle that any amount that we see seems weird to us.
I know, right?
Yeah, because I'm like that too. I'm like, man, there's so many Cho'Galls, when really it's not a ton. But okay, I'm a fan. Arcane. I'm picking up what you're putting down. I like that they banned the Karzim. There is the potential still for Leoric though, and with the double mages. I could see them wanting to get Leoric even so just to make sure they have another frontliner, let alone the fact that with Drain Hope, no, we're going to get New Anubarak, and man, okay.
All right.
Set.
I don't think there's been a single game. Now, I haven't been casting as long as you, but I've been casting for several months, and I don't think I've seen a single game with a Nubarak in it. I believe Blaze did, right, during the qualifiers?
Probably, but
somebody told me.
You have to discount things that Blaze does because you never know. No, I'm just kidding. Yeah, but it's interesting because he did have a change. His Hardened Carapace was buffed, the shield amount. But from what I've heard from most pros, they really don't think that it is enough for a Nubarak. But if you are going to have a noob, this is the case where you want to do it. You do not want to be solo warrior. You want him to be there with somebody else, just being very annoying. And so then Muradin can be the protector of the backline with all of his stuns and all of his control. And then a Nubarak is going to be the one who is making things annoying for the other members of Arcane. But
this is going to be tough.
Yeah.
Cho and Gall, obviously, you're going to be looking more at Cho as the health pool and everything. He's going to be frontline by himself. Oh, well, he's got Thrall up there. But that's going to be a lot of damage that's going to be coming out from the side of Aphrodite. A lot of damage between Li Ming and Jaina.
Yeah, it is. What I like is none of the damage dealers for Aphrodite are ones who are considered the good picks versus Cho and Gall. You want damage dealers who can do damage based on maximum percentage of maximum health, because Cho Gall's health pool is insane. It's 2 heroes in 1. So I like that. That's why we have the Karzim ban, right? Every hit of 7-sided strike deals 7% of maximum health damage to the highest health hero in the target area, and that's going to be Cho Gall. Li Ming and Jaina don't do that. They are spellcasters. So there's not going to be like a Rainer or anybody else with Giant Killer for that matter.
Yeah, that's a great point. We do see a lot of those auto attack heroes a lot of times go with that Giant Killer, which is going to be there at 13, but that's not going to be there. One thing that we might see kind of a Burning Rage coming out from one of these tanks. A Nubarak might be up there trying to do some damage. Will we see the traditional Beetle build? Will we see something around that Burrow? You know, there's a lot of fun to be had with a Nubarak. When you take a look at Muradin's Dwarf Toss and you take a look at a Nubarak's his Burrow there, I mean, it's one of those things that they're kind of the same. They just go different directions. One goes in the air, one goes underground.
Yeah, that's a good point.
So you can use it to engage
assaults
or
from
disengage.
all sides. Yeah. And then you've got Jaina and Li Ming flanking from the sides. Yeah, I actually really like, there's like a Nubarak build that people were using before when a noob used to be picked that wasn't the Beetle build, and it was like Bed of Barbs, the Underking, and it was more like utility and just annoyance, and like he had slows and more stuns. I think that would be really cool to see, but for now I'm just like hesitant in general about a Nubarak, but I'm also kind of concerned, too, because I feel like if Cho Gall kind of distracts for long enough, then Thrall's just going to come in from the side with this huge Sunder, and all of a sudden Li Ming and Jaina are going to be sad. But as long as I think they can keep Morales alive, like she can really keep a lot of people up.
It is going to be fun. I mean, anytime you can get Cho Gall in the game, and then you've got a Nubarak who's going to be coming in and making a showing tonight. I am a little worried with Arcane Esports only having Cho Gall, or basically Cho, as the solo warrior. But the potential is there. If a Devouring Maw can wrap up the right heroes, if Thrall can sustain up front, if Uther can get there, but there's the potential for a web wrap, maybe, to get an Uther out. I don't know. Either way.
Yeah! I didn't even think about that.
There's fun to be had with this competition on both sides here, Gilly. I'm really looking forward to it. That's why I think so many of us casters like casting Blaze games.
Yeah.
Because you get to see something different all the time.
It really works your brain to have to be like, okay, so what are they going for here? To have to, think about that instead of seeing the very standard comps from each side.
Well, either way, we are going to be on Sky Temple. We saw this last game. Obviously, you want to be able to capture those temples. Those temples are going to be shooting at the structures, which is one of those things where you'll see some teams prioritize that before they go directly to the temples. That's the difference between the pro teams and the amateur teams, and we're going to see how they're able to prioritize that tonight, as we are going to have Afro Doge on the left side of the map again. That's going to be Crone once again on Li Ming, Daihu on a Nubarak, Tiger JK on Muradin, Hal Nguyen on Jaina, and that's going to be June there on Morales.
And in the red, we have Arcane Esports with Chrissy Lowe playing Zagara, Imfu playing Uther, All-Stars on Thrall, and then it will be Evan Drinde playing Cho, and who is that? Schnazzy playing Gaul, so that makes Evanazzi.
An interesting one. Will we see the same type of fight over Vision here? We saw this last game. Evanazzi?
Evanazzi, yeah.
But they are not going to make the same mistake as last time, as I believe the trade went in favor of Afrodoge, but we're going to see the Vision going out there. It looks like Thrall's going to go ahead and rotate to that bottom lane, and I'm really curious how they're going to prioritize this. It looks like they're going to leave Zagara and Uther in the middle lane with Cho'Gall in the top lane. So Arcane Esports splitting up. I'm curious how much damage Cho'Gall can do, and you have 3 very strong laners. Are you surprised nobody's rotated down yet to contend with Thrall?
Yeah, it seems interesting, but there's just a lot of push in general from what Arcane Esports has brought. Cho'Gall is really fantastic sieging hero. Zagara is great too, and then Thrall is, Thrall and Zagara are like the best, solo laners there, and so there's going to be issues, I think, for Afrodoge from all of these two, but they are doing a good job of at least pushing Evanazzi back now too, as an orb's going to come out, and they're actually going to bait out the hurry up oaf, so that's a nice pickup there too. He'll probably play a little bit safer until he can make sure he has that back.
It's kind of fun that they left both Li Ming and Jaina up here in the top to contend, and they brought Morales in behind, and they left their other 2 tanks to basically soak up and defend the middle 2 lanes, basically neutralizing and somewhat pushing back Evanazzi here, and the Morales heals are going to be great there. And both temples are going to be spawning there. It looks like some headway was made by that of Arcane Esports, as they did hit 3 first there. Nobody's going to get to 4 in time for these temples, and will they split it? It looks like we're going to see basically the even trade here. Once again, which is one of those things you see very early on, especially during this first temple phase. Tiger JK obviously down in the bottom lane trying to defend against All-Stars. All-Stars tending to get the best of them down there.
Yeah, Tiger JK is having a sad time, but finally All-Stars is at least left. The towers did get burned on ammo, and in the mid too, towers are going to go down from Arcane being able to hold that temple, but All-Stars starting to fire back. Chrissy Lowe comes in from the side and push Tiger JK back once again. Cho'Gall, in the meanwhile, making things difficult up top for the 3 members that he's up against. He's forced them off, and if he can do this long enough, his team might be able to rotate back up and then help him too. It's going to be a bit, though. It looks like Thrall actually went all the way back, so they shouldn't be able to do this. The spikes come out, and Evanazzi now is going to be body blocked using Surging Fist to get away. Speaking of the spikes, we do have extended spikes for Anubarak at level 1, and then Locust Needles, so it's way more of a damage-focused Anubarak here.
Definitely a much more damage focus. I really like that. I mean, obviously that was going to be the priority there. It's just a matter of how do you build it, and that's what we're seeing to play out right now. The Li Ming build looking very similar to what we saw last game. That is going to be Charge Blast there at level 4, so I'm sure we'll be seeing Seeker at level 7 once again. And one of the recent changes is with Jaina's Frostbolt, and we've seen it in the past in a lot of competitive play, but it's even more powerful now when you can spec into that, as it looks like we're going to have Frost Shards going to be there at level 4 for Jaina.
Yeah, likely following that up with Eye Slants too at level 7, but we'll see. Sometimes there's still a hybrid build with Frostbitten at level 7 too. The Cho'Gall build, I'm remembering now that I casted Arcane at the Heroes Type Amateur Series, and they also played Cho'Gall there because as soon as I saw Evanazzi, I remembered that how much fun I had saying that name last time. But their builds once again look really similar as before. The big deal is that they have both rollback and double back. So both Dread Orb and the Rune Bomb come back, and that helps them deal damage on the way back too, as well as it can really confuse your opponents too, especially with the double back, because they might not be expecting that and take some extra damage from it.
Especially when you've got both warriors on that front line, they might be able to do some damage, and we did see the prioritization towards the camp at the bottom, which left Cho'Gall to basically stay in the top and do some siege damage, and as you talked about earlier, does a lot of it, but we are seeing Afrodoge dropping back, and this is one of those things that experienced players do. They know to go back just in time to grab their camps. Arcane Esports prioritizing the exact same thing, to be able to get these bruiser camps, to push this top lane, because always during the second temple phase, that's going to be at the bottom. So both teams making the right call here. Who's going to stay up and defend and clear it and see who can get max value out of theirs is kind of the next question.
Yeah, that was exactly what I was going to ask, Jay. How great point. Who is going to stay and defend, and who's going to get the free push with the bruisers while everyone is fighting down in the top? And because there were more people here, Aphrodite were able to clear up their bruisers a little bit faster. So that does mean that Evazi is going to have to stay up here until he can clear it out himself. And that gives a little bit of a power play around this bottom temple, which is currently being held by Arcane, but they're going to have to back off. They know the rotation is coming, so they're going to have to wait until Cho'Gall can get here.
Yeah, definitely a huge priority up in that top lane. The good thing is Cho'Gall stayed up there with just enough time. We do see that top lane already cleared out from that fort, so if it does push, it's only going to clear some minion waves, as we do have a little bit of a contest down here at the bottom. But both teams very even on experience, and right now Aphrodite is going to be the leader in terms of grabbing these shots. Tiger JK standing on point, and there's going to be the last few shots. Now we might have our engagement down here, but Tiger JK taking a ton of damage. They're going to have to back here, or at least drop back and regroup, but hey, their well is here. Will they try and re-engage, Gilly?
Oh man, the Impaling Blades were so good. Impale from Daihu to stop everyone from Arcane from being able to chase down and take out Tiger JK, and that means that they can potentially re-engage here. Both teams very close to 10, but I love the split soak from Houndwin in mid. It's helping them to be able to get to that 10 just slightly before, and notice they're already setting up to come in for a gank. Arcane needs to get out of here and fast. They know it. They're moving back. They know that they've probably conceded the rest of this position. Potentially these Giants too, unless they can get their heroic abilities. But Thrall moving up to mid, trying to help them get those. But I think they're going to have to forfeit these Giants.
Taking a look at the heroics, Gilly, Anubarak is going to be going with that cocoon.
Yes.
So will we see a really big cocoon there on Cho'Gall, or are we going to try and prioritize that on Uther? Because if you can basically get those heals off, make sure and prioritize that at the right time and avoid that Divine Shield, there's a potential Cho'Gall blow-up or Thrall blow-up that's going to be involved here, as we do see Aphrodite trying to make a priority to take down this fort, but they have to be careful as the damage is still coming out. But with Cho'Gall rotating top, this is going to be a fort for them, and a nice power play and a nice... Oh, is that the web wrap down here at the bottom?
Yep.
There's the cocoon down here, but will there be a follow-up?
It was on Thrall, but he's going to be able to get away for now. The cleanse was going to help him escape that. Devouring Maw goes down, and Daihu with a big burrow charge into the back lane. Chrissy-Lo in trouble, trying to kite him back. The Impale comes out, but it still isn't enough. And in that time, though, they were able to turn around and take out Thrall. Disintegrate it comes out, does enough damage that they are going to force Arcane, the rest of them, to leave. And boom! Morales throws down the medevac, escorting all of her teammates to safety. I was just going to mention how happy I was she picked up medevac dropship. There wasn't anybody really to put stim drone on. I mean, sometimes you used to see it on Muradin when you could stun with Avatar, but now without that, I really like the medevac. It's going to be able to help them get away just like that, or they can also move from temple to temple or objective a lot faster.
And that is a great point, especially since we've seen the nerf and prioritization more towards abilities and less towards the auto attacks for those mage-type characters. Tiger JK contesting the point here in the middle, but he did take a bit of damage. He's going to go ahead and drop back and wait for his team, who just hearth back, and they're going to come in at basically full health and full mana, ready for another fight. Both teams at level 11. Will we see the same type of damage coming out there? We do see Cocoon is going to be back available. The heroics are just about ready for both teams, with a slight lead on those cooldowns for Aphrodite, and will they engage with it here, Gilly?
A big deal is watching out for the upheaval from Evazi. If they can see somebody, pull them into the team, and then eliminate them with a Shadow Bolt volley and the rest. They can even use Sundering to push the rest away while they make sure to take out that person they do get. And they're looking to maybe to throw that on somebody, one of the big damage dealers, the squishy healers. And there goes the upheaval into the rest. The Sundering immediately throws back the damage dealers. Devouring Maw goes onto one person. Morales has to use the medevac to get away, and that means she's not going to be throwing out any of the heals. It was a very close one, but still, in that amount of time, they lost the Jaina. Uther has gone down, though. At least it was a 1-for-1, but now with the Daihu takedown, it will be 2-for-1 in favor of Arcane.
That was a huge turnaround there. Once that Sundering came out, basically forced Morales off point. That's when we saw the Jaina go down, and now we see very low on health. Tiger JK being chased there by All-Stars, but June able to get the heals in just in time, not able to secure it, but a nice turnaround right now for Arcane, but Li Ming went down in that back line there, Gilly.
That Rune Bomb was so good. That was such a great pickup there. I'm wondering if they're going to get Glass Cannon again, because that's what we had at 13. Okay, we're in there, J-How.
Very brave. Very brave.
All right, so level 13 picked up by Aphrodite. Arcane just slightly behind in experience, but with winning those fights is getting caught back up in record speed. They're still behind in structures. They've lost 2 forts, whereas none have been taken out yet on the side of Afro Doge. But that choke all, man, the later you get, especially once you get Shadow Volley, a Shadow Fury at 20, becomes pretty scary to deal with.
One of the things that you sometimes see but not always see, especially on these large maps, level 7 talent for Zagara went with rapid incubation, which means that she's going to be able to get her health and mana up. A lot of times you'll see that extra creep vision, and that's one of those things, especially on the larger maps. But one of the things that you do also see is the fact that later in the games, that creep, if the other team is rotating around, especially when they have somebody like Mirrodin who goes around, it doesn't necessarily pay off as well later in the game. But it's one of those things that, you don't always see rapid incubation. And hey, Afro Doge, again, making the right shot call, saying, hey, we're going to go up here, push with this, and now we're going to go down and contend. Medevac going to be flying in to contest this bottom temple. No, they realize that the boss is on, and they're going to fly in and try and contest this, but too little too late right now.
Great, Devouring Maw into the back. Divine Shield has been used on All-Stars. Tiger JK is going to stun him, and he's being chased down by both of the warriors. Evazi in the back line trying to contend with all of the damage dealers of Afro Doge that came out of that Maw, but that's going to be way too much to deal with. Molten Block being used at least for now, trying to help him escape, but Chrissy Lowe even is going to be in trouble and get taken out too. So 3 down thus far. Imfu and All-Stars still trying to get back, but caught really badly, especially Imfu. All-Stars is hunting Houndwind. I don't think he's going to be able to find her. He's going to try. Uther does go down. Yeah, he's just going to go back.
Yeah, that's going to be a tough one. I'm wondering if they'll leave somebody on point for the temple here since there's only one left. But we do have the boss making it work down here in the bottom lane. We see these siege giants here as well. And it's doing damage to this bottom keep. I'm not sure if they're able to rotate back here quick enough and clear this out. But that keep is half down. This looks like it's going to be the first keep of the game here, Gilly. Will they be able to finish it off?
Ooh, the Giants are still throwing the rocks.
Oh.
Okay, the minions are going to stop that. That was very close. But no mule, so at least Arcane don't have to worry about that because you can, when you get to that point and you're up against a mule, you start to have to make some risky plays to make sure you actually get the structures down that you put damage to. But man, so I loved that even though Arcane lost that boss, J-How, how they lost the fight at the boss, they still got the boss, and I love how they did it because Cho threw down Upheaval. It was only Mirrodin on the point as the medevac was still flying in, and Mirrodin was forced to the situation of, do I get pulled off the point, or do I dwarf toss away so that I don't get put into a bad position and lose the boss and my life? So at least he dwarf tossed out, but it was like, in the process, like, okay, actually, you could just have the boss, sorry.
With everything that's gone on, we actually now, and I'm surprised to look up and actually see almost a 2-level advantage right now for Afro Doge. And that's put them on their level 16 talents. It does look like Arcane is going to be able to reach 16 before the next temple phase and put them on even ground. But this level, or this experience advantage, is really nice right now. And it looks like they're going to go ahead and try and make a priority to rotate over. Could they be looking at the top keep here? The damage that they did earlier with that camp did allow them to get the gate and towers down. And they have the potential here if they want to take advantage of the 16. But it looks like they're just going to go ahead and poke. Doesn't look like the opportunity is there as we see Mirrodin now rotating down to the bottom, clearing out some of that creep and potentially going down to clear out another camp before this next temple phase.
Yeah, I think if they're thinking if they could catch somebody out who was maybe just trying to clear the wave a bit too far forward, then maybe they could have gotten somebody. But those giants are going to need to be cleared. Oh, they're almost there too, so they will have taken care of it. But that was going to push all the way to that bottom keep, which already is very low, and they need to protect that because that is the lane that the boss pushes in.
On that back lane, we did see Cho'Gall go down there. We saw the upheaval tried to get cast. It was ice blocked out by Jaina, which means that's not going to be available for a little bit until this next fight. So that's going to be a huge momentum shift if the damage comes out on that back line. But it does look like dropping back to clear some of those waves is Arcane. But are they going to come to the middle and try and contend here, or will they try and rotate? It looks like we might be having our next fight now that they're on even talent levels. And Afro Doge rotating to the top, and they got to be careful. Tiger JK, of course, is going to be able to dwarf toss out, but the potential for a fight, they're coming back to fight, Gilly.
They are. I thought maybe they were just going to rotate out and choose to exchange the temples. Oh, having trouble with that one, but it looks like they are going to try to keep defending this and be able to get both of the temples just one at a time. Avazi going in. There is the upheaval. Pulls in the damage dealers into a sundering, and Daihu is going to be the first one taken out here. Devouring Maw in the back takes out June too, so he wasn't able to provide the heals needed for that and has to medevac away already. Medevac barely getting away, actually almost gets taken out by Arcane, and that would have been another free takedown. But they're still going to come back in here. They're very healthy. Morales is able to heal everyone back up, and it's harder for Impu to do that because he is more cooldown based. Ice Block goes down. This Jaina is in a lot of trouble. Houndoin is going to go down.
Houndoin goes down. Crone on that back line is having to teleport out of there. We saw him go over the wall with just barely a sliver of health left. And there is the flying Mutalisk. That's the one that's coming out at that level 13 talent for Zagar. Not able to secure any kill, but a nice win on that fight there. Getting a 2-for-0 trade means that they're going to be able to get on these temples. We see Chrysalo going ahead and rotating off of this. They're now able to start clearing up some of these structures. They're going to be able to get this top fort down. It's going to give them a little bit of experience, but it's going to help them make up the gap. The more kills that they get, they're only a level down now, which has kind of been the huge thing so far. They're trying to make up this gap, and it means that if they can rotate and get 20 before the next temple phase, then they're going to be on even ground, and we've seen how they do in these team fights so far, especially the last few since they've been on even talents.
So a big pickup for Cho is that he now has Twilight Veil. When you use the Consuming Blaze, for every enemy hero hit, you reduce damage taken by abilities by 50% for 2 seconds, and that's going to be really big versus both Li Ming and Jaina, so that's a nice pickup. But also, Anubarak does have that Blood for Blood, which is going to really help his self-sustain. We're going to have another fight, J-How.
Yeah, diving in there, we do see the damage coming out. Evazi coming out with the heroics, doing the damage, but on this back line, Chrysalo is taking all kinds of damage. Devouring Maw not going to save you from Li Ming, and now we see the Dwarf Toss in. The Cocoon is out. Somebody's going to be trapped out here, but they are all over Cho'Gall, forcing them away, and now McFu is going, the Divine Shield is going to come out. It's going to delay this a little bit longer, and I like this because that does delay that medevac who's going to go over there. I'm surprised they don't see Morales. Imfu is going to go down. That's a dead Uther, and level 20 is now hit for Afro Doge. And they're going to be able to take advantage of that, and they are now going to move in for the boss, and this is a potential win condition. If they can take this boss, rotate down. We did see some damage go out earlier. There is no gate down there on that front line. If they can get a pick off or two with this boss, especially with this 20-19 advantage, this is a potential win, but they have to play their cards right. At the same time, Arcane has to defend very intelligently here, as we now see siege camps being picked up as well here, Gilly.
So, yeah, it seemed like there was maybe some confusion in calls there that came out from Aphrodoge as June was wanting to chase down one of the members, and the rest of the team chased down another one, and it was just like, guys, come on, we can do this, and then they're like, it's okay, we got Uther, but Uther's going to be back up now in a few seconds. The boss starting to push in toward this keep. It's definitely keep, but can they get more? It's still half a level until level 20. Shadow Bolt Volley is going to be used and pushes back Tiger JK from this, and that means it's now 60 seconds until they have that again, and that's a big damage dealer for Arcane. Boss still at half health. The big stun comes in onto Disintegrate. A Cocoon, it does get dropped onto Cho'Gall, and they're trying like mad to break him out of it. He is back out. Upheaval goes down, does not pull anyone in, although Devouring Maw does grab Li Ming, but this core J-How is at half health and falling rapidly, and I think they've done it. Aphrodoge are going to take out Arcane Esports.
That boss way too much to contend with, not able to get the damage out in time on that bottom keep. As you said, it was a guaranteed keep. It was just a matter of how much damage they could put out in return. Obviously not enough here. A relatively quick game. I mean, this is pretty average time, but we saw 11.5-minute game so far, 18 minutes on this one. Aphrodoge coming out. Again, Aphrodoge, if you're wondering who are these people and what is this name, it's different members. We've got members from 2ARC, we've got members from Resurgence, and I'm trying to remember who the other guy is from. Maybe it's all 5 of them, but either way, if you guys want to check this out, you can check it out on Battlefy. I believe that in chat you should be able to type !bracket. Check out the bracket that's going on. Check out the teams that are involved. Arcane Esports, again, making their return this week. Just won Heroes Hype on Wednesday, but running into Aphrodoge here in round number 2. Looking very, very good here, Gilly.
Yeah, it was a very fun game. It really came down to that boss, and the Aphrodoge just did such a good job of being just slightly ahead in experience. Like, they didn't have a huge level lead. It was mostly 2, I think, at the most. But what they did every time that they had a really important talent tier lead with that was great. And getting that boss was huge because they knew that their keep in the bottom lane was so close to being down. And keeping that alive was great. They didn't have to deal with catapults in that lane, but also just getting the boss not only alleviated the pressure on that lane specifically where their keep was almost down, but they were able to push in with it and be able to pick up the win. So good job with recovery there from Aphrodoge. And they will be moving on. It looks like they'll either face Thai Iced Tea or the UTA Heroes of the Dorm team we were talking about earlier?
I took a look just before we switched screens there. The Li Ming damage was unreal that game. Twice as much as Jaina, and then the siege damage was there as well. But I think she got to get off a lot of shots on Cho'Gall, so it really helped her out there. But nicely done there, Afro Doge. Man, we are going to be following them into the next game. We do have to see this. Again, as Gilly pointed out, we're going to wait for the winner there. But if you're wondering what HOTD stands for, that is the Heroes of the Dorm teams. And as Gilly pointed out, the registrations ended just yesterday, which means that these teams now have time to practice, because that's in, 3 weeks? Is it like 3 or 4 weeks from now?
It's soon, yeah.
It's very soon.
Yeah, and I mean, a lot of times, I don't even know. Like last year, it was a lot of brand new people, right? Like Michael Udall, that's where he started, was Heroes of the Dorm, and their team went all the way to second place. So as much practice as you can possibly get in, it's what you have to do. So I love that these are available. This tournament's available for them to be able to get that experience.
Good stuff all around. Heroes, of course, in a very good place right now. It's pretty much nonstop Heroes content. Next week is the regionals, which Gilly will be casting. The week after that is the European regionals. Everything going on all at once, and then Heroes of the Dorm, and then, of course, the grand finals. They're going to be in Seoul, in Korea. So that's going to be coming up at the beginning of April. So a lot of stuff over the next 5 or 6 weeks. I think this has probably been the best 2 months of Heroes of the Storm, I think, ever. And with a really bright future.
As bright as Brightwing, Jay Howe. Sorry, chat.
As bright as Brightwing's juke moves earlier. Man, that should be like on a highlight.
Proteges, I know. Making the plays.
All right, well, we're going to take a quick break as we await the winner of the UTA Hotted team versus Thai Ice Tea. We're going to get to that again. You guys can check out the bracket. Go ahead and type !bracket to get a little bit more information about this tournament, as well as the teams that are involved. You can click on those teams, find out who's on whose teams, especially this Afro Doge team if you guys are wondering about them. But we will be right back in just a minute. The minute we have an update, we'll be right back for you guys for round number 3. All right, welcome back, guys, to the Divergent Gaming Open. Again, I am Jay Howe, and joining me tonight is Gillyweed. Gillyweed, first two games following Afro Doge here as I turn my mic up, so hopefully people can tell me if I start yelling too much. But Afro Doge...
Stop yelling at us, Jay Howe.
Yelling. Afro Doge looking really good through the first two games, and we are going to follow them into the next game where we're awaiting the winner of one of the heroes. You said it was... UTA stood for University of Texas Arlington, is that correct?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So, and actually, I confirmed that they did win. So they are going to be up against Afrodoge.
Nice. Oh, yeah, there's the bracket updating. If you guys are wondering about the bracket or the Divergent Gaming Open, you can type ! Bracket to find a little bit more information about it. You can also click on the teams, of course. Afrodoge, kind of a mixture of some familiar faces as well as this Heroes of the Dorm team. So we might have a little bit of a competition here. It's kind of, dependent. Obviously, you have to stick with your school. So how many of these people do they find across campus to play with them? That's kind of what I'm wondering about.
Yeah. So also, I want to talk about UTA because this is some members of Team Blaze and is actually the original Team Blaze. They started as a Heroes of the Dorm team. They competed as the UT Arlington team. And then afterward, liked playing with each other so much that the team was separated from the UTA esports and became Team Blaze. So members on this are not only trying to prepare and get ready for Heroes of the Dorm, but they're also trying to prep for regionals and try to qualify there so that they could go and play potentially at Seoul. So like if they qualified there, lots of heroes would be played for these members. And that is Yuge and Claudius, who are still on this UTA team. So I'm excited for Heroes of the Dorm because, like we talked about before earlier, it was a lot of new players and people who were playing new to Heroes. And now we've got a lot of returning people in teams, and I think that's going to really up the level of competition for Dorm this year.
Heroes of the Dorm, when you talk about the amount of money that they're going to be giving out, I mean...
Yeah.
I saw the number of teams. Am I correct that I saw something like 800 teams signed up?
There's so many teams.
I mean, how this goes down is unreal. Unreal.
You have to do it. Like, the potential to get free tuition, if you're in college, like, every college should have a team because, just show up and maybe you'll realize that you guys are great and pay for your tuition. But... it's pretty interesting to think about these players who are on, and they're not the only ones. Michael Udall from Panda Global is also going to be making a team, and I believe that's going to be a very strong team because it's going to be him and Big Impact again, and then, is it Akaface? It's going to be some people, and I think Shot from Resurgence actually goes to their college too, so that's a pretty star-studded Dorm team as well.
Well, there's a lot going on, and this is one of the things I believe Shadow Smile was talking about last night about a lot of his players are on double duty because of exactly what you were just talking about. So that was a lot of fun to watch again. Last night's Misclicks episode, if you guys aren't familiar with Misclicks, then you're missing out because that is a weekly show with Gillyweed on there. And last night you guys had a special guest because Anna Prosser was at something called the DICE Awards where I believe Heroes of the Storm might have won something, Gilly.
They did win an award. It's so awesome. I forget exactly. Do you know the name of the award?
It was like Strategy Game of the Year award, I believe.
Yeah, I'm going to look at... Strategy Game of the Year. So cool. It's funny.
Coming a long way.
Yeah, it's funny because it feels so, fulfilled that people see how wonderful this game that I love so much is. So I that's just so cool. Dustin Browder tweeted, "Here's the Storm community. You guys made it happen. Thanks to anyone who ever sent us a tweet or posted feedback or played the beta." Smiley face. I love how active he's been with Twitter recently and talking about the game.
6.5 out of 10, though.
No comeback mechanics.
But yeah, Dustin Browder, man. Like, I remember when somebody made the comment to him, "Hey, if you're going to respond to everybody's tweets, then at least tweet them so that everybody can see the response." And ever since he started doing that, it's like kind of my afternoon thing I do in the office, right? We all have day jobs. So I'll be sitting there, and then all of a sudden you'll check your Twitter, on, of course, your lunch break, right? Not at your desk. And you'll sit there, and all of a sudden I'm like, yes, he's tweeting. And then I'll just sit there and read through like 10 or 20 tweets of him just responding to people with just like a lot of insight, right? Because a lot of people are asking questions, some of it very hostile, telling him how much things suck. But then he has like very good responses, and sometimes he can be quite entertaining as well. It's always fun to follow Dustin Browder on Twitter. So if you guys don't do that, you're missing out on one, good information, and two, a little bit of entertainment there. A plug for a guy that needs no plug.
Yeah, right. So I have an apology to give, and also apparently the draft has started.
Oh.
I missed that the link had been sent to me, so I sent that link to you, and that started. I also have an apology to give because it is Akaface. My apologies, buddy. Of course I remember your amazing Brightwing play because that's when I first became an Akaface fan, was Dorm, so please forgive me. And anyway, I'm really excited for the draft. It has started, and so far we have Falstad and Zeratul bans, and a lot of picks coming out.
Get over to that. OBS is the bane of my existence when it comes to linking
Chrome?
Heroes draft. Yes.
Yes.
Is it Chrome that has the issue?
I think it's just Internet Explorers in general.
Yeah.
But I could
Actually, I'm
teach
using
you a
Firefox.
trick. Remind me and I'll teach you a trick about that
I
later
normally
on.
just F11, change it, and then F11 again. It doesn't work anymore. It used to, sometimes.
Well, I can update while you're fixing that if you would like.
I'm good now.
Oh, okay.
I'm a pro at adding it over and over and over again, unfortunately. But as Gilly said, the bans are coming out. So Crone's Afro Doge, they're no longer just calling it Afro Doge. They're now having a bit of fun with it. If you guys don't know Crone, some people might call him Crone. I don't know how he goes by. Crone has an afro. So very fitting that they would go with Crone's Afro Doge here.
I didn't know that.
Crone has an afro, yes. You can check I think it's his Twitter profile picture. You could probably check it out there.
I'll have to do that. I like the bans that came from Crone, specifically Zeratul. They know that they're up against Claudius from Team Blaze, and he's a very able Zeratul player, but he's able to play a lot of very interesting choices of heroes, though, too, so it can be pretty tough to try to stifle his creativity when it comes to drafting.
Well, we did see another Falstad and Zeratul ban, which leaves us for both teams first picking Rhaegar and Li Ming. And then, of course, UTA following that up with a Jaina and Muradin pick there. But no surprise, we do see Zagara and Li Ming both picked there by Afro Doge. Cursed Hollow, another one of those large maps. And the vision is good. Zagara obviously very good at giving that. Tyrande not on the board yet, not necessarily a prioritized hero, but will we see some combination, obviously, with that Sentinel going out? But it's going to be kind of interesting to see how they go here. They secured some damage. They've got Zagara, who does some sneaky damage as well. Johanna, very strong in that front line. But how do they supplement that right there as they pick up their support? Possibly another assassin or possibly somebody up there on the front line to join Johanna, which would be a very smart choice there.
So if they get their support here, then they can flex the last pick depending on what UTA ends up with. Or you can do that if they know what they want to do, what kind of composition they want to run, then they can they could have picked the damage, the second warrior, whatever, and then had their support to flex versus whatever UTA picked up there. So they had some options, but it looks like it is going to be Brightwing picked up, so they can take advantage of her global presence, her mobility, and the fact that she can teleport in at the last minute. But I like this pickup here from UTA because Lunara starts to deal a lot of damage into the late game, and that can be pretty tough for Brightwing to deal with by herself. So it's possible we could have like a Tyrande or Tassadar still picked up here for Afro Doge.
Are they teasing us again?
They do that. So it's possible.
The members of Blaze are the ultimate draft trolls. In
They
case
are.
You guys don't know this.
You've noticed that too?
Oh yeah.
I got to cast covering Gazla?
I got to cast a few of their games at Heroes Rising. They did the exact same thing. And I guess I watched them enough, and there they go. Much safer picks there. Thrall and Lunar. That makes a bit more sense.
Yeah. That's a great draft. I mean, it's great all around. They've got some sustained damage from Lunara. It takes a bit for her to ramp up, but once she does, she can really throw down a lot of the poisons. Thrall will be great in the front line with Muradin. They have good heroes, a couple of good heroes for lockdown, and then slows from that too to make sure people can't get away if they catch them out. But Afro Doge going with a very safe composition here by grabbing the Tassadar. They'll have a lot more shields. He's going to help out with the supporting for Brightwing too, and he's a good safe hero to have for laning, for making sure that he can get away with the race car build. I'm liking it from both.
How do you like the Tassadar pickup versus, say, somebody like Tyrande here? I mean, obviously they're kind of the hybrid role. Tassadar, he tends to clear lanes a little better, but you have Brightwing there as well. But, Tassadar, a lot of times we'll see counters to somebody like Zeratul or somebody to provide that vision. But, can you really go wrong here? Which one would you prefer on this map?
So I like Tassadar and Brightwing together. They're both heroes that do great in the lane. And so if they want to, they've even got Zagara too. So they have a lot of options for laning. His shields help a lot too when it comes to Brightwing's heals. And because of that, I tend to like Tassadar and Brightwing just slightly better than Tyrande and Brightwing, but I've seen both and both work. So I think it comes down to player preference and the fact of what utility you want to bring. Tyrande does have a great potential for denying tribute pickups, but Tassadar is going to provide vision to his team so that they can make sure to stay safe, avoid those Thrall flanks, which is really important with, as well as the Jaina flanks too. So I like that they're just, they're playing safer here. They know that there's going to be some long fights around tributes, and with that double support now, they can feel very safe in being able to stay in those.
Well, we are just about ready, and I like both drafts here. This is one of those things where we have very familiar faces facing off against each other. So Afrodoge done very well in the first two games, but they're probably going to be facing a little bit stiffer competition. We are going to be seeing Cursed Hollow this time around, and Gilly getting called out in chat as well behind the scenes.
I'm getting called out by everyone. Akaface, Crowan.
Not a good night for Gilly. Even though she knows all you guys.
I try to explain that I have no Cladius. I remember that one.
All right, but a lot of changes going on lately in Heroes. Obviously, Jaina, we've seen a lot of Jaina. Jaina, I believe there was a Gosu article that I saw just this afternoon or this evening talking about how the Jaina, ever since her buff, even though her auto attack got nerfed, ever since her little bit of buff the other day or last week, she's been picked a tremendous amount more, especially very early in the draft. And we're seeing that all night here, and you're probably going to be seeing it all night. And no surprise, no Kael'thas so far tonight.
Yeah.
Feels bad, man.
He's fallen off a bit. But we had the reign of
Oh,
Kael'thas for so long.
yeah.
A little reprieve is not the worst thing to have. But yeah, changes to Arcane Barrier, both of his heroics, the cooldowns, although Pyroblast did at least get a damage buff. What else came in for him? Oh, Gravity Lapse was a big one too. 1 second
That's
instead of
huge.
1.5. Yeah, it is huge. But for a damage dealer who you almost always pick Netherwind, the hard CC that he was able to provide was kind of nuts.
Yeah.
So I understand wanting to take that down a bit, and he still can capitalize on hooks or some other stuns, but without being what is this damage dealer doing in the front line, starting off the CC chain. But yeah, and with the buff to Jaina's damage for a couple of her abilities too, really seems like she has kind of taken a step above him.
The other thing that I really like, because although Lunara originally was a little bit of a hassle, especially with her movement, but they've made a few UI tweaks, or how she moves, her auto attack speed and stuff like that. In terms of how it looks, the damage. Because there was a big complaint about all the heroes that were coming out basically since last fall, with the exception of Morales, I guess, kind of in there. But there was this, I guess, worry that all the heroes they were releasing weren't really played. They weren't really living up to the standards. Then they come out with Li Ming, who blows everybody up. And they've already nerfed her. But then now they're starting to bring Lunara up. And I love Lunara in this current meta.
Me too. She is... Right now, she's my favorite to play. Besides the fact that seeing her damage numbers are insane, and the fact that once you get to late game, she is very hard to deal with. And we'll see how Arlington, UTA, are able to dish out that damage. They are the ones in blue.
Yeah, if you want to go ahead with that, I'm going to get these names updated.
Yeah, so this is UTA, Heroes of the Dorm team. We've got Yuge playing Rhaegar. DXN817, that's going to be fun, playing Lunara. Mist on Jaina, Cure playing Muradin, and finally in the top, Claudius will be playing Thrall.
And on the right side, we are going to have Afro Doge over here. Doge, excuse me. As I looked at Yuge there. We are going to have Daihu on Johanna, going to be on that front line as usual. Li Ming going to be there, played by Crone, the Afro man himself. Tiger JK on Tassadar. How to Win on Zagara. And we're going to have June on Brightwing.
I think there should be like Afro Yuge. That should be like a new Twitter account. Anyway, teams starting to break out. We've got Tassadar and Zagara already pushing very hard up in the top, using those Roachlings to soak a lot of the shots and taking down a tower to half health. And we'll see how where the response is from UTA.
We do see, just as you suspected, we're going to see Thrall and possibly Jaina with Muradin on that back line. They have to be careful. The creep already down. That's going to spot them. They know to back out. So prioritizing that creep towards the bottom allows them to keep an eye on any possible gank. So very nicely done there. We are going to see them try and clear that out as they go. But with Zagara there being played by How to Win, this is an experienced player, understanding that you don't just go put it down for the sake of it. You put it down to make sure that you don't die.
Yeah, and not only that, but they have Tassadar there. So it's going to be very hard to actually get any sort of ganking done onto Afrodoge up into the top lane. And they know that, so they're going to start to head down into the bottom lane instead, looking to maybe pick up either Li Ming or June. But they do know that this is happening. Mist and Kira have been rotating around trying to find somebody and catch them out. And so far they haven't really been able to do that. So a really good job from Afrodoge thus far. As we're going to have a pause come in. A good job from them in being able to deny any of these ganks.
You're not going to get them this early in the game, and this is what I like. You know, we do have a little bit of lag going on. We'll bring you back to the caster screen for just a moment, but we're going to get that. There's Gillyweed again. Hello, Gillyweed.
Hi.
But we are going to have these teams again. We did see the priority on the rotations not paying off, and I don't think this is going to be a team that you're going to catch out this early, especially with the experience that they have. An Oracle and Creep down in that top lane, good luck, and then at the bottom you have Brightwing that's going to be there with Li Ming. How... Are they correcting me?
Naguyan.
I'm just going to call him How then.
How? I'm going to call him How as well. No, it's UJ. You guys are the worst. You're messing with us. How it is.
All right, so apparently they're listening.
Oh, no, it is How Win. You guys.
So I guess take the emphasis off the end that I kind of inflict a little bit. Either way. I'm just going to ask him personally, forget what these guys are trolling us with in chat. Yeah, I know, right? There are some names. It's always fun, I guess, from the caster when you actually get to interact with some of these guys behind the scenes as we are getting ready to get it ready up. But they're pretty funny people in the middle of a game. It looks like we are going to be ready here as the countdown comes. We're going to go ahead and get back to the game. But if you guys ever get a chance to meet some of these guys, if you ever come out to the LAN events like we had at Heroes Rising, or, you know, maybe if they have an audience at regionals in the future, you guys should really make your way out to some of these local events. These guys are really down to earth. They're really fun to talk to, and you actually get to know a little bit about these players, which, for me, that was my first LAN event. I know you've done a few, but my one at Heroes Rising, there's a lot of fun to be had, I think, at the Heroes scene when you get to go to these LAN events.
Yeah, I think that's probably my favorite, Heroes Rising, just because it was like all of these teams that we've interacted with online finally getting to hang out and talk to them. And like obviously BlizzCon is BlizzCon, but just like being able to hang out with all of them and go to In-N-Out Burger with a bunch of the team members was so awesome. But
happy accident.
It was really great. Okay, so we have a bit of a different Li Ming build thus far. It is going to be the Astral Presence this time. And then also Dominance. So restoring the mana if you get, or the health if you get takedowns, makes me think that we could be seeing the Calamity build, which is my favorite Li Ming build. So we'll keep you updated on that, guys.
That's the best part about Li Ming, is that you can actually prioritize into a couple different things. But we do see a nice move there on the side of Afro Doge and a little bit of RNG on their side because they did grab that siege camp, which is now pushing at the bottom. That's going to leave 3 members of UTA down here to defend. It looks like they're probably going to give up this first tribute unless Thrall can do some poking. But this RNG on their side is going to allow this first tribute to go to that of Afro Doge, and I really like the move that they put there, but at the same time I really like that we do have UTA standing their ground and actually turn it around, do a little bit of damage themselves down here now.
How? Your creep spread is ridiculous. Doesn't even have Tumor Clutch. That is maddening for Cladius. He just hung out up there. Man, that's nuts. But yeah, they had to give that up because they just had to deal with the Giants and wanted to try to get some extra soak, so they did at least get the towers, but now with this counter push coming in from Aphrodite, didn't really accomplish too much. They're neck and neck in experience, so it's a great job of them of not overreacting to picking up that tribute, so they still didn't lose out too much in that soaking period.
Yeah, level 7 talents are hit here for both teams. As we do take a look, that's Amplified Healing is going to be there at level 4 for Johanna, as this next tribute is going to spawn down here at the bottom, but we are actually going to see Seeker there at level 7, so we're going to get that extra damage for those skill shots that we're going to see. Battle Momentum going to be there for Zagara, and no surprise there, Kala's Embrace for Tassadar, and then we do have the Face Shield that's going to be in there, so prioritizing into keeping her team alive, Brightwing there with that level 7 talent, as well as we now are going to have our engagement down here at another tribute here.
Cladius is coming in from the side. They get rid of the healing ward. Daihu taking a bunch of damage. It gets rooted. Has to get out of there, is very low, and the Face Shield is going to come in to help. But Thrall, in the meantime, does get taken out. Orb does not connect on any of the members of UTA, but Aphrodite importantly has pushed them back. They should be able to zone the rest of this so that they can pick up yet another tribute and are only one away now from getting a Cursed J-How.
This is huge for them, because if they can parlay this over to, say, a third tribute before level 10, and then they can take that and use that curse to be able to get level 10 and then start pushing that advantage, we've seen what they can do with a talent advantage and the experience advantage in a game. And it's been an absolute monster so far in the first 2 games that we've seen. Obviously, they're going up against a little bit different competition with some of these names that you will recognize, like Yuge there, who's going to hurt it back a little bit and prepare for this next tribute. But there is the potential there. But right now, very even on experiences, both teams dropping back and prioritizing camps here.
Yeah, it's always nice to have your mercenary camps pushing during tribute phase, because you can get into very long, drawn-out fights around those tributes, and that always goes to your advantage. When you have the minions, the mercenaries freely pushing, maybe putting on some early pressure to the structures that then you can follow up with once you get a curse, or when a fight. Both teams are neck in neck in experience and doing a great job of soaking their lanes, but it looks like at this rate, Aphrodite might get their heroics just slightly earlier, but it's really close.
This is going to be one of those things where these teams are probably going to stay in lane, try and soak every bit that they can, try and poke at the tribute if needed until they get 10, and then try and turn that. But the experience, like you said, is dead even. Yuge down here, he's going to channel, but he's going to get interrupted. But this is it. Here comes the poke. Both teams at level 10. We might have a huge fight on our hands. Level 10 hit first here by UTA. Not far behind here if they can get another minion kill there right on the cusp, and they really need this here, Gilly.
Now the positioning is good. It can be tough to try to engage into the protected location for your opponent's teams, but Aphrodite are still going to try to make this work. Force walls come out. It's going to be a little bit until that's back, but it is a very short cooldown, so they will have it again for the rest of this fight. But still, just looking at Claudius, trying to see if maybe he can catch some people out with that Sundering. Meanwhile, Daihu is going in. He wants to try to force a good positioning so the rest of the team behind him can throw out the damage, throw out those magic missiles that they need. How similarly is rotating around the side, looking for a good Maw to be able to take some people out of the fight. But here we go, Daihu trying to catch people. The Blessed Shield goes down into the Disintegrate, and a great Sundering helps them take out Tassadar immediately. No prescience yet to be able to save them from that much damage, and now Hao is in a bunch of trouble too. Takes a bunch of spears to the face, and the poison takes him out. And there we go, 4 people taken out by UTA, and they are going to be able to pick up their first tribute.
This is going to be huge, because not only are they going to get their first tribute, but they are now making a move for the boss on their side. Will they push with it? Will they try and rotate up and get the boss on the other side as well? They're in a huge position right now. That was a huge power play for them to take out 4 members, and now they're going to try and capitalize on that, as they're going to go ahead and finish this boss here momentarily, but that's going to give them the full level advantage, and this could be their opportunity to try and rotate, but they are very low on health and mana after that fight, so how they're able to capitalize on this is going to be interesting. But understanding that boss is going to be there and be captured, hey, on this other side, they're going to go ahead and grab theirs, and unfortunately, they're not going to get as much value in that bottom lane, so a nice play here going out to both sides here. I really like Afro Doju's shot going here, Gilly.
Yeah, it was a good call to say, okay, the tribute's going to be right by their boss. They're immediately going to go for that. We have low respawn timers. We can go get it. Just knowing by when it was capped and how long that was taken. So at least they didn't lose both of the bosses, which can be a huge game changer on Cursed Hollow if you lose both of them to your opponents. So both are going to rotate around and try to defend these. June is trying to soak as safely as possible, as he is the Brightwing and always can phase shift away if needed, but you can't get stunned out of that, so it's very important to still stay safe. The next tribute is coming, and this is really good for Afro Doge because it's now in their protected location.
Definitely a good opportunity for them, but they are having to rotate from the bottom, which means they're going to go ahead and position themselves, try and stay back. This creep that's back here is giving them vision, but it is being cleared out rather quickly. Yuge with that lightning shield, able to pretty much wipe out any potential vision they had for any ganks. And now we're going to see a full 5-on-5 in this closed area, which the potential is real as the Oracle comes out, spots all the members. This is going to allow them. We did see Rhaegar move to the top, try and get 13. They're not going to get that, so he is going to have to re-engage here. The Roaches go out on that back line. Both teams continuing the poke here, waiting for a solid commitment. We do see Cure on that front line taking quite a bit of damage. The Thorns going out there on that back line by Lunara, but the poke is real. This is going to be very difficult for them to grab this tribute and to be able to get this without engaging in some type of fight. The longer they go, if somebody rotates up to clear out one of those minion waves, there's potential 13 there for UTA, but right now the standoff is real, Gilly.
Yeah, this is a problem, and this is great to be able to go in. The Sundering goes down, and Ancestral Healing is used. Devouring Maw pulls 2 members in. Can they take out Cure in that time? I don't think they're going to be able to, but a good Condemn into Disintegrate takes out Thrall, and that's huge because now that's a big damage dealer that has been removed from UTA, and that should be exactly what Afro Doge needs to be able to get that tribute. And you mentioned it. UTA were so close to having level 13 talents, and the weight and the poking, it was favoring them because if they had been able to just rotate down and get like one, just a little bit more of minions, they could have had 13 and then fought into that. But because they weren't quite there yet, it was still even terms for Afro Doge, and they were able to get that very important Thrall kill.
They chose to engage there. The Sundering came out first, and then we saw the Blessed Shield come out in return, and then that fight turned in favor of Afro Doge, showing their strength there, and now they've put themselves back on even talent grounds, and they still have this curse for another 30 seconds as they're starting to take this middle fort, with the top fort already being pushed down, and we do see Brightwing up there contesting against Muradin, trying to get any type of push, but we are seeing a nice rotation here from Afro Doge, but it's also being very well defended right now by UTA.
In that fight, too, I have to highlight Hao's Zagara play. The counter Ma was really important to making sure they didn't have the full force of UTA bearing down on them. They lasted through the Sundering, and yes, it was Muradin that they were trying to focus down, and they weren't able to do so before the Maw was done. But Daihu was right in position that as soon as the Maw was completed, he condemned people into that Disintegrate, and that was what helped them get that final kill. But Sundering comes out once again, and this might be bad. The Devouring Maw once again going to be the counter engage here to allow the team to be able to escape.
The Blizzard comes down, basically forces them to retreat, and they can retreat under the health or under the protection of this fort that has basically no health left. It's just waiting to be breathed on to go down at this point. So that is going to be available as needed. I won't be surprised that's cleared by minions at some point, but both teams dropping back. Obviously, on the side of Afro Doge, they have no tributes gathered. They just had their curse. But there's only one on the side of UTA, which means both teams dropping back to get their camps. Now, here's an opportunity for either somebody like Afro Doge to try and push, but they have all 3 lanes down 4 forts where they still have all of theirs standing, so they're still in a good position. So I'm really curious to see what their next call is going to be. Obviously, they'll be able to contest the next tribute, and if things get hairy, they can back out and still feel okay because they only have one on the side of UTA right now.
And these teams are constantly neck and neck in experience. It's crazy. But that's going to be really important and good, especially for UTA, who have already been cursed. They made it through a curse. Tiger JK might be in trouble here. Cure's going to catch him, and there goes the one-dimensional shift. Force Wall to try to stop them now. He still does have Freshen, so if he gets low enough, it will proc, and there it is. But he has a poison damage. the plasma shield will be enough to get away. Man, how is that fort still standing?
I don't know. All they had to do was poke it one good time. I guess they didn't really prioritize that. Obviously, that would help them on their chase for 16. But dropping back here, clearing out this siege camp, I wonder if they're going to rotate up. They have to see this, and obviously that would help them on their chase. Not going to give as much experience, but it is every bit needed, and it looks like they're finally going to go up here. That shield is still going to be there from Tassadar, but coming down here, sniffing it out, there goes the Wisp, able to detect any type of rotation, but they got to be careful. Yuge on this back line, Force Wall going out. Yuge, the Ancestral Healing being used on himself, Disintegrate not getting the kill that it wanted, and now we see the damage coming out here. The Polymorph going there on Cure, who did have to pop his avatar. So 2 huge heroics had to be used there by UTA just to escape their Gilly. That's going to be huge for this next fight because 16 has now been hit there for Afrodoge with that tribute spawning.
Yeah, that's such a great point that they were able to bait out both of those heroic abilities. And even though 16 has been picked up by UTA, I'm not sure how comfortable they'll feel trying to contest this tribute fight. But even so, Afrodoge are rotating to it very safely, making sure they're not stepping out of position. But it looks like Murden's going to come up. I think they're just going to give this up. They're going to start to work on their boss right away. Now, what will Afrodoge do? Are they going to realize this? They know everyone is off. It looks like they're okay with trading once again, boss for boss.
Yeah, this is a huge call from them. Again, this is their situational awareness. This is something that you see these really experienced teams recognize, is the sense, hey, we've got vision all over the map, and we don't see them. We have minion waves all over as the Wisp is coming down to try and sniff it out. It's going to be too little too late. But is that level 4 fast Wisp? That is, and that's really good on this map. That Wisp gets around this map very quickly. But they were quick on the shot call, quick to rotate over and get their boss. They're going to go ahead and send Brightwing back. This is going to be huge because Brightwing obviously is able to shift in at any moment across the map. And this is exactly who you want to have fall back and defend, while the other 4 members are going to push this top keep, Gilly. If they can get something out of this, this is going to be a huge momentum shift for them.
Yeah, this is a big deal, the fact that it is Afrodoge who are pushing with their boss, whereas it's everyone here defending from UTA, but they have some really good poke, and it's important to note now that Lunara has come into that full build with having unfair advantage and Starwood Spear, so and add to that Wild Vigor too, and she's going to be starting to put out a lot of damage, especially because there are so many slows, and anyone who slows gets 50% more damage from that unfair advantage. There goes the Sundering. Are they going to be able to pick it up? It looks like Zagara is going to be the choice to take out. She gets stunned, but not out of it just yet. Is Brightwing in here? It looks like, yes, she has come in to help save the day. Daihu is in trouble, though, very low from getting poisoned, as is June, and June's going to go down. Ironskin has to be procced. I don't know if she's going to be able to get away, J-Hal.
Hal is going to go down. Daihu, the Ancestral Healing, coming down on Yuge to heal himself, and the chase continues. The Stormbolt comes out, and Crone, just trying to get any type and salvage this, knows that he's going to go down, does secure 1 kill, which is actually huge because that's going to allow them to prevent any type of push. The good thing is here is that in the top lane, they still have a fort. Yes, that will probably go down here, but that kill will basically neutralize any type of strong push. They lost 4 members. You knew you were going to go down, and he salvage just any increment that they could possibly get, and that's the power and burst of Li Ming as this top fort goes down. But Gilly, the experience starting to creep ahead just a little bit here for UTA on the chase to 20.
Yeah, and importantly, Cladius was able to pick up the tribute, which means they're only 1 away. If they can get their storm talents before their opponents and make sure they have that big advantage over them, then they should be able to grab themselves a curse. And a late game curse can be so hard to deal with. Even if you get the first curse, it does not mean that you can win the game, because those late game curses can be really big, especially because you have pressure on all of your keeps sometimes there, and there's only 1 fort remaining for Afrodoge after that great pickup by UTA.
In the middle of that fight, though, that boss was able to get through that keep, so that means catapults are now going to be pushing that top lane as both teams dropping back now to get their camps. They know that Afrodoge has to defend this next tribute, being down 2-1, but they are a little bit behind on experience. Is this going to be an opportunity? Is there enough time for UTA to hop in here and get the experience that they need? I'm not sure if it will be, but you can see the focus is here, but the tribute is now spawning, Gilly, and that's going to be on the side of Afrodoge, and this is a very crucial fight, and if one team gets wiped here, this could also be game. So this is going to be huge to see how these teams stand off. We've already seen the long standoff so far. All the heroics are back on the table, so this is going to get interesting real quick.
Orb goes out, June trying to phase shift in to make sure that Hal gets that phase shield Daihu, by the way, interestingly picked up Subdue at 13 instead of some of the other options like the Crusade or like Hold Your Ground. Claudius coming in does use the Sundering, but immediately has to move back, and Ancestral Healing comes out pretty early. Kira's going to have to jump away, has used Avatar as well, so a lot of heroics starting to be used by them. Crone pretty low, and they're trying to keep him alive because he's throwing out the Disintegrate, and they're going to turn onto this a great Force Wall as soon as Devouring Maw ended, and Thrall will get taken out the first blood in this fight. Tassadar, though, has gone down too. Daihu's still on the chase for Mist. Can they get him? Is she going to get taken out, though? Because remember, we don't have Indestructible just yet, so Daihu has to be very careful. And looks like Hal will be able to get the tribute.
Mist just barely able to survive with that ice block on Jaina, and I was surprised they didn't follow up on that. But at the same time, in both the bottom and middle lane, Aphrodite did have a camp pushing, and in the meantime, in the middle of that fight, level 20 was hit there for UTA. That came in at the tail end of that. Coming back, clearing up the camps, and almost at level 20 is Aphrodite, which means that at any moment, this game could be blown wide open. We are going to see Storm Shield coming out there for Rhaegar, Rewind for Mirrodin. We are going to see Bolt of the Storm, of course, there for Jaina. Still waiting on Thrall to lock in his, but Forest Wrath going to be coming out there for Lunara.
So what I was wanting to talk about for the Subdue before the teams got into that big fight was a lot of times it's Burning Rage there, especially with the Blessed Hammer at 16 pickup, as she just does a lot of damage by just being there. But or even the Hold Your Ground for the bigger shield, which we had Crusade Marches on at level 7, so it could have gone into like a very tanky Johanna build. But it's interesting to see the Subdue because I just hardly ever see it, but it does really go increase the slow a lot. It goes from 60 to 80% and then increases the duration by a second. So if they're really trying to make sure that they can land all of their abilities, and we even have slow now coming in on Disintegrate as level 20 is picked up by Li Ming, they can just really try to grab somebody, hit them, and then in that instant blow them up with all the damage that they have.
The tribute is here. It is 2-2. This is an absolutely crucial fight, and this could be the game decider as Storm Shield is going to be used there on the side of Aphrodite. That's going to be a little bit preemptive. Daihu on this front line is taking a ton of damage. Can they take down Daihu, who will have that level 20 available? And there it goes, but the Sundering comes out, Devouring Maw going on that back line. But Zagara caught there and stunned out and goes down. Daihu in all kinds of trouble. Can Daihu survive under the chase of Cure on this backside? June and Tiger JK, these are split, and these are going to be dead members of Aphrodite, but what can they get there? The Blink Hill coming out from June, able to get out of there. Mist is going to ice block out. Tiger JK already on a mount, but what can he do with it? As Brightwing did get chased and is now taken down. The Curse did get captured by the red team in the meantime. Gilly, they are fighting all over the map as Mist did manage to chase down Tassadar there on the other side. Now Li Ming is under assault here. 4 members. Can they get the stun before she gets behind the wall? The damage coming at it looks like she is going to be okay. Trying to get some damage with that Disintegrate. She has to be very careful with her positioning there as Crone is going to be back there, and Crone is a he. But Li Ming obviously in retreat there, taking the damage. But this Curse is coming out, and we do see the damage. Did it say Red Team Curse? Oh, Red Team Cursed. I read that without the D.
I like this decision making so much better. I thought they were going to work on a boss, and I was like, no, you have so many people down. You could win this. And I love that they broke down the small wall. They took out the keep, and now they're going to win the game as the core is falling so rapidly. Great decision making there by UTA, being able to get that win. But it was pretty back and forth between these teams. They stayed very even throughout this game.
That was excellently played there by UTA. I really like the way that they won those fights. They engaged almost every single fight with Sundering, and I feel like it caught Aphrodite off guard. We saw a Storm Shield come out very early in that last fight, and then we saw Daihu basically get left alone there on that front line, taking a ton of damage, as we saw Lunara pumping out all kinds of damage, as you called, with her build, as she gets in the later talent tiers, does a ton of damage, and we saw that coming out. Thrall obviously leading the way, but the damage between Jaina, Lunara, and Thrall was just way too much to deal with for Aphrodite, and they are taken down here by UTA. Again, if you guys are wondering, this is a Heroes of the Dorm team, and this is their opportunity to start playing and start getting better. Gilly, they looked really strong, and if they're taking this into Heroes of the Dorm, I mean, they've got to look pretty good right now, considering Aphrodite and the members that they have.
I know, right? They do look good. The Sunders were on point, and that's Claudius, man. He is a beast of a flex player, and one thing I wanted to highlight is that UTA did a great job of adapting to Afrodoja's strategy, because we saw that the strategy was wait for Sundering, Ma the counter engage, and then as they're running in, try to take out whoever ran in, whether it's Thrall, whether it's Murden, just whoever comes in off of that, Ma into the back line so that they're separated. And that worked for several fights. But toward the end when that was happening, the Ma could only hit like one person. Or it hit, but Zagara was so far forward to try to get it that she was taken out. So it was good adaptation, just slightly better by UTA to allow them to pick up that win.
It was very well done, and I'm curious. I'm going to check with the admins to make sure, but I imagine we will be following you. Actually, no, this is going into the finals. What am I talking about,
We are following them, yeah.
We're definitely following
into the
them.
only game possible.
The finals are going to be coming up. Let me update the bracket here. Again, if you guys are wanting to check out anything about Divergent Gaming, you can actually check out quite a bit of information right below, as it looks like Excelsior, and I've got to get, I don't know if that's University of Florida or whoever, but it's another Heroes of the Dorm team that's going to be facing off down there. We'll try and get a little bit more information. Could we have two Heroes of the Dorm teams facing off against each other in the finals here of the Divergent Gaming Open? That would be interesting.
That'd be crazy. It'd be like our own little mini Heroes of the Dorm finals right here. See how they match up. That'd be pretty cool. It's great to see these dorm teams just out the blocks doing great already, and showing that they've been putting the work in and they're adapting and really want to win that free tuition.
I don't blame them.
I don't either.
I don't blame them at all. Again, guys, if you want to check out more about Divergent Gaming, the number one thing you can do for any of these tournaments that you guys see is follow the channel and show up. I mean, it's one of those things when teams get support, especially teams get support, but when tournaments get support, stuff like that, it allows them to know that what they're doing is correct. Divergent Gaming, I mean, man, I'm absolutely delighted to be on here tonight. Dreadnought, of course, was supposed to be here. He's sick. So I was more than happy to say yes, I'd sub, because Divergent Gaming has had some pretty stellar casting. Gilly was supposed to cast with Dreadnought tonight, so I'm happy to fill in there. We've seen Jake on here. We've seen Zoya and Dreadnought together. There's been a whole lot going on the Divergent Gaming Open, so if you guys are looking for really good casting, if you're not as familiar with it, you can check it out. Follow them on Twitter as well. A lot of good stuff. Facebook, they have linked down there. YouTube, as well as they've got some pretty nifty shirts. Again, we pointed it out earlier. The sweatshirt is what I would love, although it doesn't really work as well because I'm in Florida now, and it's never really that cold. But you guys can also check that out down there. There's shirts, unisex shirts, there's ladies shirts, there's long sleeve shirts, and sweatshirts, and the sweatshirt looks mighty comfy. But either way, you can support Divergent Gaming in any way possible. I believe I've seen some stuff show up as well about contributing to the prize pool as well. I know they've got a lot going on, a lot of really positive stuff in the scene, so if you guys haven't checked them out yet, or this is your first time here, be sure and give them a follow. Let them know on Twitter what you're thinking, or Facebook, whatever your social media of choice is. You can also follow Gillyweed. Gillyweed, you're all over the place, and you do a lot of really cool stuff. Do you want to let them know where they can find you?
Yeah. You guys can find me on Twitch, Twitter, Facebook, and YouTube, all Gillyweed SC2, like StarCraft 2. I stream Heroes of the Storm pretty much every day. Sometimes do some other games, but for the most part it's Heroes. And that's every weekday at 3 p.m. Central Time. And then I do lots of different things. I have a podcast all about Heroes of the Storm that's weekly on a different channel. So the best way to find out what I'm doing, whether I'm casting here or somewhere else or on that show, is to just follow me on Twitter, because I always make sure to announce what I'm up to on there.
Same for me. You guys.
Yeah. What about you, J-How?
Twitter is the best way. It took me a long time to adapt to Twitter, but now I'm there, and it's kind of a useful tool. If you guys want to follow me, you can find me at J-How Gaming there. Our information is below as well. You can check out me over on YouTube as well. I do a lot of YouTube stuff, basically branching out over here in a game that I absolutely love, doing something that is so much fun, which is casting and being able to be a part of this. So special shout out to Divergent for considering me and having me on here. This is something that I wish I could do every single day of my life as opposed to sit in my office. But I digress. But either way, guys, we are going to take a quick break as we wait, and they might have even finished by now, but Excelsior and the UF Heroes of the Dorm team, man, I would... sorry, Excelsior, but I want to see another Heroes of the Dorm team. Please don't hate me. We're gonna wait and get the update there, but I'm going to take you guys to a quick break. We're going to find out what's going on there, and then you'll see our faces here in just a moment. So stay tight, and we'll be right back.